my skin, only add color to my tears. Oh, oh, that splash against my hollow bones, that rocks my soul. Oh, 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 oh. Looking back over my false dreams that I once knew, wondering why my dreams never came true. Is it because I'm black? Somebody tell me, what can I do? Oh Lord, oh, something is holding me back. Is it because I'm black? Yeah. In this world of no pity, I was raised in the ghettos of the city. Yeah, oh Lord. Mama, she worked so hard to earn every penny. Yeah, yeah. Oh Lord, something is holding me back. Is it because I'm black? A child stealing his first piece of candy and got caught, peeping around life's corner somewhere. I got lost. Oh, something is holding me back. I wonder, is it because I'm black? Oh, somebody tell me, what can I do? Will I survive or will I die? Oh, oh, you keep on holding me back. Keep on holding on. Keep on picking on me. Oh, keep on holding me back. Keep on holding on. Keep on holding on, holding me back. I wonder why you do me like that, but you keep on holding me back. Keep on putting your foot on me.
It didn't take a top-level study to find out there is, in fact, growing racial tensions in the armed forces. It's been a reality for as long as it's been real in the United States. And Vietnam is no exception.
It's a fact that it is a growing tension here in Vietnam as well as stateside. You notice it more each day as the black power sign, the clenched fist, and the handshake. You notice it more each day. These people are uniting.
I think it's quite possible that racial tensions might exist in the military and here in Vietnam due to the fact that these are the same young black men who were involved in racial problems before coming into the military.
Army Captain Buford Shields from Danville, Illinois. Captain, the Defense Department has just released a report indicating that there are growing racial tensions in the military forces and here in Vietnam. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I read the newspaper account of the story, and it kind of hit me cold in that the report was something that I didn't really know existed here in Vietnam. I serve on a committee that studies these problems from the 8,000 troops that we are responsible for, and never seems to be that there is anything really going to come out of it, as far as I know. Normally there's only one, maybe two incidents, but again, I feel that that's because the blacks stay together and there's a white group that's going to be. I don't think that anything will change that, because everybody would like to be with their own kind. Well, now, I was in Vietnam. I'm in Vietnam now, and before I've been to Germany and to other places in Europe, also in the States. You're driven more together in those environments in that the blacks go to one place and the whites go to another. Where in Vietnam, I think you're forced together so that there's more harmony, and I think understanding helps to ease the problem.
Army Specialist 5th Class John Cheney, San Antonio, Texas. John, the Department of Defense has just issued a statement that there are growing racial tensions in the military forces throughout the world. What's your reaction to something like that?
My reaction to the growing tension of the racial problem here in Vietnam, I think it's a continuation of the racial problem we have in the United States.
What do you think could be done about it, John?
That's a difficult question to answer, but I think people will have to learn to get along with each other.
Marine Staff Sergeant Jim Fairfax from Washington, D.C. Sergeant Fairfax, the Defense Department has just released a report stating that racial tensions do exist in the military forces, especially in the Army and here in Vietnam. What's your reaction to that? Sergeant, how does the future of the black man with regard to racial dissent look in the military forces?
I think that the future of the black man looks relatively promising in the military, due to the fact that I personally feel that the military is taking great steps in trying to just make the military a better place, easier to live, and more opportunity for the black man. However, it might be rather slow, because this is a thing where we still have to deal with the conscience of people, individuals. And also the military is undertaking programs to educate their senior NCOs and officers on the problems of the black man.
Sergeant Fairfax, what if the education that you're talking about does not sink in?
If the education does not sink in, I feel that there could possibly be grave problems for the military, and the fact that they will not be attracting black men to the services. That would go, I think, for the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps. These black men, all they're interested in doing is being able to identify and being able to live and be proud as an individual man. So with this line of thought, I think it would be quite advantageous for the military to do all it can to make sure that their education to their NCOs and officers work.
Army Sergeant Carlton Coven from Cincinnati, Ohio. Sergeant Coven, in your 2 years in Vietnam, have you noticed an increase or decrease in racial tensions in the military forces?
Well, racial tensions, I would say, have increased. I wouldn't exactly know why, but I would say primarily due to the fact that the tensions in the United States have also increased, and the more awareness, due primarily to a lot of tensions that are here, of the differentiation that is held in troops, between the difference in troops. I understand there is considerable work being done on this, investigation, so forth and so on. Perhaps if they would maybe send down a reprimandum or probably just an order that there be no more racial tension, since our armed forces follows their orders and regulations so closely, that would possibly end it all.
The Defense Department's reports indicate that if the communications gap between blacks and whites is not closed soon, growing racial conflict in the military forces will reach explosive proportions within a year's time. And from what I've seen, that's a conservative estimate. Frank Mariano, ABC News, Saigon.
We have a situation, a war that is no longer a true war. We don't have an external threat as we had years ago. I emphasize external threat because that's what prompts a society, a military organization, to develop into a cohesive organism. And when you don't have that, why, the transposition from the U.S. society and with the lack of constraints that exist over there, you may find it a little more rampant than you do back in the States.
Have there been any crimes committed here at Camp Baxter that could be tied to racism or to racial troubles?
I don't want to answer that one.
Well, like Big Brother Rap, one night he got shot. I was in the day room shooting pool, He got shot and the whole thing came up out of that. Now, that was about the biggest thing we had there.
Oh, who shot him?
It's a white dude shot him. They moved his trial down in Da Nang someplace, and then they moved it someplace else, And after the trial, they gave him a trial, and he got acquitted from the murder charge, They stopped the murder charge and gave him a $100 fine for having an illegal weapon. That's, wow, there's no excuse, He was in a latrine one night, and this brother named Spinny, he's short. He was in a latrine, and he heard these two white guys talking. They're cooks, and one said, well, we having a party, So you say you're gonna invite invite some of those niggas over there like that. So Smitty walked up to him and said, hey man, I didn't like what you said, and that wasn't right like that. He said, well, I wasn't talking about you. You like one of us, Smitty.
Colonel, why do you believe there is racism here at Camp Baxter?
Well, I hesitate to use the word racism. I think that the Army has sometimes been looked upon as a subculture when really it's a microcosm of the USA. We have prejudice in the USA, despite laudatory attempts to dispel it. Many people are born into it. They're raised with it. And when we transpose the people from U.S. society to a military organization in Vietnam, it's bound to be here, just as it is back in the States.
Do you believe that perhaps it is stronger here, that because the GI is in Vietnam, that perhaps the prejudices themselves are stronger?
I think there's probably a better outlet for it over here. For one thing, when you separate people from the social constraints that are at work back in the States, for example, family, friends, you're more likely to have it given freer vent.
What do you do about it as the commander?
Well, first of all, I've got to identify it, and I have in certain cases identified it. If the problem is severe, which is to say if it hurts mission accomplishment, I've got to identify it, and in those cases where I have determined that what we had here was a critical mass. To explain that, the way you explode a nuclear weapon is you bring two masses together, and that forms a critical mass. Now, I find that we have certain men who are incorrigible, and the only way to avoid or dismember that critical mass is to transfer the selective incorrigibles out of the command. And I have done this on 2 separate occasions with the concurrence of my commanding general.
So you as a commander then, perhaps, for want of a better word, you certainly use force to decide that you will have no racism in your command.
Well, if I can quote from Machiavelli, he advises the prince that there are 2 ways to govern. One is through love, which the people can withdraw, and the other is through fear, which only the prince can withdraw. I like to operate and manage and command my organization on the basis of the reward system. However, I come across some soldiers who simply don't respond to that, and then I must apply fear. Sounds like a harsh word, but it really amounts to that. And what I use really is fear of the future, which is to say, if a man does not behave, if he insists on making trouble, what we've got to do is discharge him from the service under conditions that are other than honorable. Now, when I've pinpointed the man, when I've identified him, I say, now look, this is what you're going to lose. You're going to lose those benefits that normally accrue to a veteran with an honorable discharge. This is
Certain units in Vietnam.
Occasional mortar and rocket attacks, but we simply, or really, don't worry about the VC or the North Vietnamese on the edge of our perimeter. There have been occasions after, let's say, a little racial trouble at Camp Baxter, followed a few nights later, or maybe a week or so later, by word, intelligence reports that the VC were near. No problems at all. Simply amazing what a real live enemy can do for you. In my personal opinion, I think the Japanese probably made the greatest national strategic blunder of all time when they struck Pearl Harbor, because they suddenly welded a somewhat dissident U.S. society into a cohesive nation. An example of what I'm talking.
Have there been any examples of racism in your unit?
Yes, there has been quite a few, and one way that they keep the racism down is by keeping the ratio down. You know, I work in a headquarters unit where we do the end process and the people coming into the country, and it seems as though to keep the racial problem down, to keep the ratio down. Like, I'm in a company of about 150, and there's about 6 to 9 blacks in the company.
6 or 9 out of 100?
Out of 100, and that's the way they keep the ratio problem down. In the 80th group, they have the same thing, like they keep them all grouped kind of together, you know. Like when something comes down, they know exactly where to go. At least they think they know exactly where to go most of the time.
What are some of the examples of the problems that are most prevalent here?
Well, there's a lot of dope frames. They figure if they can frame you on a dope, they get a lot of discharges out of that, and things like that. Try to say you wasn't doing your duty or something like that. All they had to do is get another man to lie. Just like that, you're gone. Undesirable, forfeiture of pay, maybe time, anything, something like that.
When the command says they're trying to do something about racial tensions, do you believe them? Do you believe they're actually interested in doing something about it?
It sounds funny to me. It sounds like it's just another rap session, you know, something for them to keep themselves busy and try to calm us down, you know, to let us know that, to say they're thinking about it, you know. But really, there's just something they just sit on their desk and slide aside, and pretty soon the clerk come by and put it in a garbage can. Forget about it. So, that's about it.
Is there racism here at Camp Baxter?
Well, there is a few problems that we have. Among the blacks, there, from what I've seen around the CO and some of our personal commanders, the people don't seem to understand that the blacks still have a problem, well as over here in Vietnam as in the States. We're becoming more and more close together, which all blacks should be, and that the problems that we do have, there's little action taken for them.
Do you think the problems are more aggravated here because you're in Vietnam than the problems in the States?
No, I wouldn't actually say so. The problems here that we have, like, say, for instance, in the field, I just got out of the field about 21 days ago, and there were a few problems that we had out there. They're kind of personal problems, which should be looked into.
What kind of problems were these?
Well, we had one, for instance, where one black was mistreated on account of a drug addiction. That's one of the main problems that we have over here among the blacks.
One of the main problems is drug addiction?
Yes, that's definitely one of the problems that we have. I believe if the Army would set up some type of, say, for instance, a special service or something other for the people, blacks and white, that the problems here wouldn't be as great as it is.
What about your relations with white GIs? Do you feel that they're strained here, or do you get along fairly well with white GIs?
Well, for me, for instance, I get along with anybody. As long as they treat me like a man, I respect them for what they are. And I don't see that there's any great problem there. I've always been going to get along with anybody at any time. Like I say, if they treat me like a man, there's no problem there whatsoever.
So the problems that there are, would you say that they're at the command level?
Well, it starts from there, and just like most in the military, it starts from the top and blows down to the low enlisted men. Now, I have a lot of white friends that treat me just as good as any blacks, and I have some white friends that treat me better than blacks. The blacks, some of the blacks around here, like we give them the power. A lot of them look at you like, you know, what the hell is wrong with you, things of this sort. And we're trying to get closer together as a majority and try to bring ourselves closer together.
Been the victim of military racism since you've been in Vietnam?
So far, no, I haven't. You know, like I'm new in country. You know, I've only been here for about a month and 2 weeks. See, and here, by being here is a great experience. You know, compared to what's back in the stateside. So, like everyone is coming closer together here, for as far as I have seen. You know.
When you say everyone's coming closer together, you mean that the blacks here are getting closer together?
Right. And the whites, we both are. You know.
Together, blacks and whites are getting closer together.
There's some that don't want to communicate, and there's some that is, you know. But the blacks it's more righteousness here. It seems like.
Is there any evidence that you've seen of racism at all?
Yes, I have. Like the other day, I have. Like there was one black and one white that was fighting, and like this white guy here said that one day he wanted to try and fight him, you know, try him out. And so one day, you know, we was all in the room talking and laughing, playing records, you know, and then all of a sudden he called him boy. He get out of the room, boy. You know, there's a lot of that boy going around, you know. And so he said, don't be calling me boy. So he said, well, look here, boy. You get out of the room, pushed him, and then it started swinging. And that's about the first thing I ever seen, the first time.
In examples such as this, what is the command's response usually?
Well, mostly like we just forget about it. We work it out between ourselves, you know. Because if we go to the captain or company commander or something like that, the first sergeant, usually both parties, maybe one party, get hurt in it at the end. See. You get your Article 15s and all that, you know, money out your pocket, you know, which is no good. So we try to work it out ourselves.
Have you been the victim of racism while here in Vietnam?
If you're talking personally, no, I haven't. There have been cases that I've heard about and a couple of cases I witnessed, but as to having foundation or standard proof, no, I can't say there is.
What type of racism have you witnessed here in Vietnam?
Well, I guess it's basically the same thing that's going on in the States. You got different people thinking different type of ways, and the ideas just don't correspond. They don't go together. As far as an example, you've got blacks that they think, we think they should have been promoted and they were overlooked in such cases as this, but otherwise, other than that, there's no problem. It's personally speaking here on this compound that I know of.
Do you believe that racial antagonisms are worse in Vietnam or worse in the States?
Personally speaking, they're worse in the States. The reason that I say this is because the people that are coming from the States, GIs that are coming over here, well, they bring these problems with them, but however, we are trying to fill these problems out once they get within this command. We try to fill the problems out and try to evaluate and see what can be done for it. But the problem is definitely in the States. It has a way of getting over here, but the root of the problem is at home.
What about your commanders? Do you think that the commanders here are sympathetic enough to black complaints?
Yes, I do. Personally, yes. Because of the fact I know I work with the commander on this human relations board that we've got, and I know that he is sympathetic to the problems that he's confronted with, and he faces the issue as he's in. And as far as, well, it's just like any other thing, any other problem that you might face or might have, you're always going to have somebody that's going to say something or is going to have some kind of complaint. While he being a commander, he can't look into all complaints, but basically, most of the complaints that he rectifies them, at least tries.
What would you suggest, for example, if you had the power, what would you suggest to alleviate racial tensions in Vietnam?
Well, as I understand it now, the Army is coming out with a new type system where they are sending senior NCOs and junior NCOs to a school, human relations school, teaching these people the different aspects of human relations so that they can relate to the troops and the commands. Now, if I personally was in charge, along this same line, I would probably do the same thing to try and teach another man, the white man, what type of difficulties the black man or the minority man is going through. See, most of the whites are not really aware of the problems that the blacks suffer from. And if they were aware of the fact, then it would probably be a different issue altogether.
Have you witnessed any examples of racism here at Camp Baxter?
I've only been here for 2 months, and I haven't really just gotten out because I work at the Officers Club. But what I hear, I don't like to say what I hear, but as far as I can see, no.
Do you think that the problem has been exaggerated?
Well, no, it's still a problem here, and it always will be a problem until the white realize what the black is going through. It's a matter of fact, just more or less living together and learning each other.
When you say what the black is going through, what is the black going through here in Vietnam?
Well, one of the things I definitely see is promotion, and some of the blacks, they do earn promotion. That's the only thing that I've really seen here at Camp Baxter. As far as that, everything's okay.
They've earned promotions but have not received promotions, is that what you're saying?
Well, yes.